right, man. We are live here, man, and so
That's right, we're back.
yeah, you know, usually we come in on that voice, and now you can see the faces of the voices. So we're hoping that you like the faces. I even got a haircut, man. What do you think of that, man? You like my haircut?
No, we'll grow back, don't worry.
Now he's gonna grow the big beard now, you know. So we're real excited about this new proposition here that we've done, and we are, you know, going to be doing some interactive broadcasting, and we hope that you guests out there would like to join us, but you need to be familiar with Google Hangouts, and you have to have a Gmail account. And if you want to do that, you can shoot us an email over here. It's at down here. We can put it for you at aliyahfever@gmail.com. You can see that, you know, throughout the broadcast. You'll see our little email address, and you can always shoot us an email and talk to us. So we have a very interesting lineup this evening. We are going to add a new component to our show because we are going video, and it's going to be called Aliyah News and Events with David Lev of Aliyah Magazine. And we're also going to be doing some panel discussions, which we hope that you'll participate in. We hope to get hot and heavy, and we all leave with high-fiving each other and big smiles on our face because it's supposed to be a lot of fun here. And what about you? What do you got to say for yourself?
Look, I'm looking forward to this new experience. Going video and live streaming is something I'm a little scared of. All the mistakes we make that we usually wipe out, we can't do that anymore.
I know, man. We have those uhs and ahs and stuff like that. But yeah, but
so I hope we look serious and we do a good job.
Yeah, I think so too. So, but anyway, we're going to bring on David Lev of Aliyah Magazine, who's going to bring us the Aliyah news and events, and we're going to also bring in some phone guests as well that are going to give us some perspectives and some ideas, and just, you know, we're going to hear from you. So the idea is we want to hear from you, okay?
As far as the news roundup is concerned, I tell you what, it makes me feel a little bit like a war correspondent when I think in terms of some of the things which have actually have been taking place out there. Just look in Sweden, Malmö. I mean, Sweden, that's a neutral country. How can we talk about war there? But, you know, Jewish boy gets attacked. It was only like a matter of weeks after a handicapped Jewish kid was attacked, beaten up by school bullies in Ireland. You know, great one, nice one to go in Ireland. I have a lot of Irish friends and as Swedish friends, and I don't see this as being necessarily a nationalistic thing, but it makes you wonder what's getting into people that they're attacking a helpless, handicapped kid. But let's have a look at an example. What happened with an attack, a proposed attack against Israelis, which is now having implications for Jews living in the diaspora. I'm looking right now at an article on Arutz Sheva on Israel National News, where it mentions Turkish Jews probed for aiding IDF during the Marmara incident. Well, that's quite loaded. Just remember the incident which happened was a ship came and a lot of Turkish people were on board a ship trying to do their best to maximize problems against the Jewish state of Israel. And by and large they succeeded. Now Jews, innocent Jews in Turkey, are having to bear the consequences of just being there supporting Israel, which leads us to another very important question. What role do Jews actually play in the diaspora? To what degree I can maybe expect it to support Israel in light of having dual nationality or dual loyalties towards the country they're living in? One other story, this is for you to comment on, Abraham. I just noticed that there was threats made against synagogues in Los Angeles, Jewish synagogues there. I guess most synagogues are Jewish there, but did you hear about that?
Actually, you'd be kind of surprised, man. You know, I think there's like these fake synagogues over there that, you know, these guys are so-called Jews, and then you
told me a story once of the beach synagogue or something.
Oh no, that was a good one, man. But you know, these guys got some wacky stuff over there. But you're right. I mean, listen, it's a situation. You know, we have a man that we want to give a call right now. His name is Joey. He's from New York. And we wanted to get him on in this part of the show here and say hello to him. So let me
tell the crowd who Joey is.
Yeah, Joey is David. Tell him who Joey is.
Joey he's the CEO of a great company called Five Borough Printing. They do a lot of work in printing for all sorts of people, businesses, and also promotional items. But many of you, especially in New York and New Jersey, would remember the devastating storm which hit recently, Sandy. Well, he was involved in helping people, victims there, to actually feel some degree of comfort. He was giving away free T-shirts to people in nursing homes and a lot of other areas, just bringing comfort to an area which was heavily devastated. And we're going to bring Joey on the line, and we hope that you get a chance, particularly people in the northeastern part of America, to actually visit him and talk to him and look at his company, 5 Borough Printing. We're just waiting to hear from Joey right now.
We're gonna this moment here. We're gonna have to pick Joey up at a different time because we have a little time issue here, and we want to bring our guests on. So we have some fabulous guests that are going to help you that want to make Aliyah a lot easier. So, Rob, you want to talk to a little bit about it, and I'm going to bring him on.
We're going to be meeting Tzvi Shinbrum now, and he's the.
I think we got that name wrong, man. I think he's going to have to pronounce it. Right. He tried to say it's got a really cool spelling. Okay, and
well, Tzvi we'll enunciate it in the right way. Tzvi is he started an organization called Volet. Volet is basically free advice, also legal advice for Olim to try and make the Aliyah process easier for Olim. And we're going to talk to him now, and also someone who he helped.
Yeah, well, let's bring him on.
Let's bring him on.
Okay, you guys, I know you see this is kind of a cool setup here. Like they're all whited out and they're waiting. They can hear us, and we're going to make them magically appear for you right now. Let's see if this works. Okay, we're hitting the magic appear button. And there they are, man. Uh-oh, that was Sam. We got the wrong one. Hey, Sam, wave. While you're here, man, Sam, wave. Say hello to everybody, Sam. Sam is, we love Sam. Sam, but we're gonna have to white you out again, okay?
Just wiped out Tehila.
Oh, I wiped out. No, I didn't. There she is.
Oh.
Okay,
you wiped out Sam. I'm here.
There's somehow we got rid. Sam will be back.
We have the power, like the Roman Caesars. You're in.
Oh, we're out. Yeah, okay. Well, you need to get Tzvi. There it is.
There we go. We got Tzvi in here now. We got it going. And then we got David over there.
Tzvi, when we start off, we like to ask our guests a little bit about their Aliyah story. Can you tell us a little bit about where you come from and your Aliyah story?
You had the name, not bad. It's Shine Broom.
Oh, okay.
You're near. That's okay. I came to Israel in 1977 from Brazil. I was born in Rio, and I made Aliyah when I was 19 years old. We decided to create this organization. Just pick up the name, Volet, which was supposed to be volunteer organization for legal help, something for new immigrants. Well, in the process, I found out that most of the people that are calling me and asking for questions, they are not Brazilians. So now we help Brazilians and Anglo. But that's a limitation. No French, no Ethiopians, no Russian. You just can't. We don't have the manpower. We don't know the language. So we stick for Portuguese and English. Doesn't matter where they come from. We do not use forms. We don't have any forms. We don't ask questions. We don't ask how much you make. We do ask questions, for example, that are very invasive. How old are you? Somehow Americans do not like to answer the question. If I don't have an answer, I do not help them. And there's a reason. The same question, we have different answers for a 25 years old and a 50 years old. It's all kind of mentality. If you bring here your mentality and you think you're America here in Israel, you won't do it. It's going to be very hard. What we do is try to make adaptations. I try to explain to whoever calls me and asks me an email, listen, you're not back home. You're here. It's a new country, new mentality. It's new laws. Everything is different. You think it's the same.
Can you give us an example of the issues that the age makes such a difference? And
Sure. Give an example. Lease contract. If you're living alone, you're 22 years old, and you want to get out of your lease, and you have a job, and I know that you're staying here for 1 year, my answer would be different If you have a family, you're 40 years old, you have kids, it's not going to be the same. I may find a better way to breach the contract. Well, if we're talking about breach the contract, we do everything for free. As I said, you don't accept donations. There's no money involved here. I don't ask for donations. We don't have even a CPA. You don't have an accountant. But if you want to sign a lease contract, we do this for you. Send me the lease, or I write a lease for you, and I adapt the lease to the reality. And the reality is not the same for everyone. Believe it's not the same.
Wait, so you do this all on a volunteer basis, and how many, you have people working with you?
We have about, right now, unfortunately, I have no one in Jerusalem. Sorry. So we have about 8 lawyers. Have one psychologist, one social worker. Why? Because sometimes, unfortunately, have very tough cases that people that try to commit suicide, they're alone here. I try to find, it's not my job, but I try to connect the person with the right, someone that can help. It's not always doable. It's not my job. I'm more in the legal side. But yes, you try to do this. All I need is an email, tell me the story. Generally, I call back and answer same day, next day. I can't do it. Another volunteer will do it. The person doesn't even know who did it.
Can you tell us? Well, you know what? Maybe now's the time to meet Tehillah, who is an example of someone who your organization did help.
That's not fair to her. She's the pillar of the organization. Whenever I need it, she fixes it. She's the only one. All this technology, I wouldn't do it without her.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we know about that technology stuff, how crazy that can be. You can have Sam's popping in on you here. So anyway, let me get Tehillah. I'm gonna unmute you here, Tehillah. We had you muted, but we're gonna bring you on. Hang on, 1 second. Okay, Tehillah, go ahead and speak up so we can make sure we did the unmute right.
Okay, can you hear me?
We hear you loud and clear.
Is it too loud?
No, you sounded great.
Okay, so I'm here. Do you want me to tell you what Zvi did for me, even though he says that I do everything for him? First of all, I met Aliyah. I met Aliyah 4.5 years ago from Cleveland. I've lived all over the United States, moved all over the place. I'm originally from New York, so not the average Ola. I'm used to moving around and starting over in different places. But I had a lot of trouble finding a job. It was really tough here, being over 50, and I'm not afraid. I told Zvi how old I was when I asked him questions, or when he asked me questions. And so it turned out that he happened to need a webmaster. He needed somebody to fix his website, and he gave me the job. And that was my first job in Israel. But Zvi has been helping me, I don't know, must be like almost every month I have a question, a problem he's got to help me with. Real estate contracts, employment contracts, problems with Bituak Leumi, or I'm self-employed, so I have to deal with all those things that I didn't know how to do here. His organization's been fantastic, and it's mostly him. He's the only one who's helped me. So when he tells you he's got 8 lawyers helping him, they fill in when he doesn't have a minute to breathe.
All right, well, that's great. And what I understand, first of all, let me compliment the website, because I did see your website, Zvi, and it's very nice. And it does appear in a few languages, what I saw, right?
Well, not really. The Volé one I'm gonna show you. That's the Volé site. Okay, can you see it?
Yeah,
it looks great. Yeah.
I am a fast learner. If you press any one of the flags here, you will be directed to another site, which is can you see this one?
Yeah, sure.
That's the law ADV. That's mainly, it's a few languages, mainly it's Portuguese and English, only a little bit Hebrew, but that's my private practice. But the Volé one is only in English. If you press here, you're gonna go to the other side, to like this. And that's it. That's how we do. As I said, technology disappeared. Oh, let me go back to you.
Now, Tehillah, were you responsible for those websites?
Yeah, I built them.
Well, listen, we want you to put a plug in for yourself. Why don't you tell them how they can contact you if somebody needed to get some work like that done?
Oh, okay. Well, my link is in the bottom of Zvi's websites, in the footer. That's my little plug. But I can be reached at tehillah@hessler.co.il. But people don't normally spell Tehillah right, so I have multiple ways to get it to me. I have auto forwarding. It's TEHILLAH at Hessler, HESSLER.co.il. And I do marketing and technical communications, not just websites.
Well, there you go. You got anybody out there that needs that kind of work. You know that Svi, you want to?
Maybe you should give his website.
Yeah, he's going to do it in a minute. But I want Svi. He's a happy client. You a happy customer, Svi?
I don't know what you call a happy customer. I am. You know what is this? Powerless. I can do anything. I need her for everything. I mean, I can't fix it. My website is great because I don't take care of it. I'm a lawyer.
Okay, well, there you go. That was the good plug for Tehillah. Now, I just want to make sure everyone knows if you don't know how to reach her through that email, we always have our email there. You can contact us at aliyahfever@gmail.com, and we can always get you to Tehillah. Now, Svi, it's your turn to give your plug. How can people get that free legal advice for Olim? We got to hear that.
Okay. If you see in my site, there's all you have to do is go to one of the sites, and here, for example, you're gonna see how to contact me somewhere. Contact us.
What's the name of your site?
Yeah.
Voleh, VOLEH.org, and you see, it's very friendly. They have an address. You don't have to use the forms that you'll see here. You can go straight to the email. No, you can't. But in my own site, I'm sorry. In my site, all you have to do is contact us. Can you see that?
Yeah, we can see it.
And it's impossible not to find me. As you see, I have an address, a phone, fax.
Whole map and everything going on there.
Yeah, and here, Gmail, all you have to do, press the button, and you are me. Okay?
Okay.
All right.
So, Svi, thank you so much for that. We really appreciate that. And again, anybody that would like to talk to Svi about that free legal advice, we're going to obviously write our article that goes into Israel National News and Israel National Radio. We'll put his information there. And also, too, you can contact us at aliyahfever@gmail.com. That's Aliyah with an H. You can see right over there. And that's going to be wrapping up for this half of the show. So we want to thank you both for coming on.
Thank you.
Everyone that's watching will stick around for the second half of the show, which should be a lot of fun. So thank you very much. Hey, you want to give me that virtual handshake?
Yeah,
That's a virtual handshake.
in a virtual handshake, I can even speak a woman.
That's right. There you go. I got the virtual high five.
Go for this ready thing, you know.
All right, there you go. That's right. You know that's a shin for shalom. All right. Okay. Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much. We're going to go on break here. So anyway, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to have our panel discussion. And Dave, do you want to talk a little bit about that? What we're going to be talking about here?
Yep, sure. The topic of discussion is the diaspora as a Jewish homeland. Think about that. The diaspora as the Jewish homeland. Well, what brings us on to this one? I mean, it's not anything particularly new because, in actual fact, when all things considered, this was something which came up in around about the turn of the 20th century with Theodor Herzl when he proposed Uganda as being the Jewish homeland instead of Israel. And thank God we're in Israel now. But maybe some people are not less thankful than others in terms of what it means to have a Jewish homeland. So the question is, do people feel so at home in the diaspora that is a Jewish homeland? So let's explore this subject and have a little bit of fun in the process. And I just want to find out what's the state of affairs with our guest. Did we manage to get through to Joey?
Actually, we're going to be calling into. Okay.
Maybe before we go into that, you raised a very interesting issue, and as Avram's going to be bringing on the guests, I'd like to relate to it just a little bit. We know that there's more than one approach to Zionism and to Israel's the the reality of Jews living in Israel, even within the folds of the religious approach. And the two main approaches that are quite extreme, one is by Rav Samson Raphael Hirsch, and one is Rav Kook. Of Shimshon Raphael Hirsch, he explains, this is what my rabbis taught me and I've seen a little, that really the Jewish nation is supposed to be a light unto the nations. But there's an argument. What they argue about is, how can you be a light to the world? How can you light up a huge area? Do you take a lot of little candles and spread them around, which is what Rav Shimshon Raphael Hirsch says we should do? We should have a cultural and religious center in Israel, but the Jewish nation should spread out throughout the world, and that way we will light up the world. Or perhaps, and this is what Rav Kook says, we should gather all of those little individual lights together to make an incredibly powerful torch. And that torch will shine so brightly that it will light up the world and everyone will turn towards it. And that's the approach that we preach here in the Pre-Military Academy. And I assume, David, that you're quite aware of these things. And so, Sam, if you guys want to relate to that, feel free.
Sam,
well, okay, well, it's interesting. Diaspora as a Jewish homeland, it's either an ironic term or oxymoronic, because as we've already know, there are some Jewish groups that believe that we shouldn't be here yet. That Zionism is not of Hashem, it's man-made, and literally the Mashiach is to come and to bring us all here. But although the miracle is that we have had a continued existence here under the most dangerous conditions, and which seems to strongly indicate the opposite. So, which brings me, as a clinical psychologist, I have to look at this thing through a somewhat different lens that, that would be in confluence with what's going on. The psychology of Zionism is basically what I deal with in my practice, exploring the Jewish identity crisis. Who are we? And where do we belong? Bible prophecy. Even though I'm a psychologist and psychology is considered as something of a quasi-science, I can't ignore that. Okay, I'm not a theologian, but I still cannot ignore, what's in the Bible, which probably a lot of it plagiarized Freud. But Hashem's commandments have a psychological and emotional impact on today's Jews. Because for whatever reason, whenever somebody you could be the most assimilated Jew there is, living in the most comfortable corner of a Western country. You mentioned the term Israel, and something happens. When I go to America to visit, and I visit a shul, and a rabbi finds out that I live in the land, immediately, for whatever reason, he stands me up in front of the congregation and has me talk about it. There seems to be this, this instinctual fascination. So the diaspora, it's actually a case of mistaken identity, thereby yielding a phenomenon of a false home. Home is where the heart is. But if the heart is lost or confused, where is home? It's like a kid who's been brought up in a loving, adopted family, has been adopted there since day of birth, and then for some reason the kid finds out where his biological parents are, is curious about it, meets them, and yet there's a bond, and yet it's still strange. They feel bad about leaving this home that brought them up, that they feel attached to, but at the same time, there seems to be this intense feeling of betrayal, turning their back on the biological parents. We've been in this identity conflict, which needs to be resolved.
So Sam, that's a really great point. In fact, in one respect, you're bringing attention to the actual term or terminology of a homeland per se, as opposed to a Jewish homeland, because to a degree one could be brought up in Bondi, which there's a Jewish area there in Australia, or Borough Park or Muncie in New York, and to a limited degree, that's a homeland. They're brought up there. They see the government looking after them in every possible way, and in one sense, one can understand how Jews anywhere in the world could look at their own place of birth, their own place where they're raised up, as a homeland. But in so doing, to a degree, I would also suggest it devalues the whole notion of Israel as a homeland, as the Jewish homeland.
Well, you see, here's the thing: the diaspora, where people live, they feel they've grown up there, they feel comfortable there, their relatives are there. They heard all sorts of stories of persecutions in Eastern Europe, and they went to school there. They did all their achievements, college, and so on. It feels like home. It feels like home. You get people to go around the schools and are inducing Jews and teaching Jews about Zionism and Aliyah, and it's like, what? But this is home. It feels like home. But let me tell you something.
Situation like that.
Sometimes feelings can lie.
So okay, but in a situation like that, all right, feelings may lie, but that may be from someone's point of view of the outside. But for themselves, they're living the feelings. Surely it's something which is very real to them. And how are you going to get someone? How are you going to get someone? And I've heard this to you as well, Abraham and Rav Michael. How do you actually get someone to relate to Israel as a Jewish homeland? Why should they relate to Israel as a Jewish homeland?
Well, I think it's, Sam, you talked about where the heart is. The Jewish heart, traditionally, 3 times a day, we've been praying to return to the land of Israel. In all of our prayers, we say, please return us. We talk about Jerusalem, about King David, about redemption. So our heart is in the right place. I think we have to connect our mind to our heart. Maybe we're just not really aware of what what we're saying. And I think that every Jew, when they do connect, when they do, also I'll tell you, I know a lot of people, and I think you also do, that the minute they made their first trip to Israel, something struck them. Right. I have many friends, not religious people. They landed in Israel and they made Aliyah. They went back and they couldn't live back there. They had to come back to it because this is where the lifeblood of our nation is. This is where the heart is beating. And when you're here, you feel it. Sometimes people have negative experiences, but you know what? In life, there's also negative experiences, and we don't run away from it to a false reality in order to avoid the negativity. So I think
let me ask you a question. To what degree would you say there's a separate path between affairs of the heart and affairs of the mind? Because it would appear that when people talk about not wanting to come to Israel, they use a lot of intellectual excuses which seem to be very devoid of any heartfelt sentiment.
Listen, sometimes our minds can be our greatest enemy. There are times where we should not be using, we always have to do things logically and plan. But when we're, for example, if you're selecting who you're going to marry, you definitely have to think a lot about who you plan on marrying. But if you marry based only on your thoughts, you're going to be in big trouble. You better love that woman that you're marrying.
There's a saying. There's a saying: "He who marries for money earns it."
So let me say something about that too, because it also, again, I defer to you, Rabbi. It's also written in the Tanakh. As a man thinks in his heart, so he is. So yes, although the thoughts appear to be separated or cut off, from the heart, the goal of the human condition is to integrate the mind with the heart. The mind essentially can teach and control and influence the feelings, not the other way around. When it's the other way around, we lose our focus.
I agree completely. I'm not trying to negate the mind. What I'm saying is we have to be able to know the direction. Sometimes we have an innate understanding of the direction that should be taken, and our mind may interfere because of fear, because of not wanting to do something that's a little hard for us. But I completely agree with you that, for example, in one of the major books of Jewish faith, the Sefer HaKuzari, which was written by Rabbi Yehuda Halevi over 800 years ago, he talks there about the Chassid being a man who masters all of his powers, and those powers include his emotions. In other words, the mind has to know how to use. We have to be in control of our emotions. There are times when we have to increase the volume of love. There are times when we have to increase the volume of longing or other things when we're praying or other. So definitely the mind should be the master, but we have to know to connect it to the heart.
Of course.
There was a story which I remember. This is actually a true story which happened on Tisha B'Av, and I said to my rabbi, Rav Dov Berkovitz, I drew his attention to the fact that the Jewish community in Worms, in Germany, were one of the first ones to get wiped off the map in during the Crusade period. Crusade period happened before 1099, so it was in the early mid 11th century, before in this common era. And he came up to me. He said, "You know, it's amazing you mentioned that." I said, "Why?" Because I was just looking at the other side of the book that Worms. And listen to this. This is amazing. Worms was the seat of Torah scholarship. It was where the yeshivot were of the day. Now we discovered that there was a letter sent from Jerusalem, the community in Jerusalem, to the community of Worms in Germany, inviting them to come and join them in Israel. And the reply was that you keep your Jerusalem, your big Jerusalem, we keep our little Jerusalem here.
Yeah, there was also the concept of Yerushalayim Delita, the Jerusalem of Lithuania. And when Jews replace, we can't replace our heart. That's, there's a Jewish body. We all have our own individual body with our individual heart. And there's a Jewish nation, and the Jewish nation has a heart, and that's in the Jewish homeland. That's Yerushalayim Orosh L'Olam, the heart of our nation as well, which we hope to see the temple standing there.
Amen.
In the near future.
Sam, I have a question for you. To
Sure.
what degree do you think there is a conflict between the mind and the heart of a Jew living in the diaspora? Because it seems very clear what Harav Michal mentioned, that the heart draws someone towards Israel, and when someone makes the actual process of Aliyah, it's almost an emotional decision. So on the intellectual side, of course, one is looking at comfort levels, all the normal things which one would look at. To what degree do you think there is this conflict, or could you think there is a conflict going on in the minds of Jews in the diaspora?
Well, a conflict is often observed. It doesn't mean it has to be that way. Okay, you take, case in point, an example of, let's say, a child who's been adopted by a wealthy family, wealthy beyond, kids has everything he's needed. He never has to worry about bills or anything for the rest of his life, until one fine day he meets his true biological parents. You see, then you meet the biological parents, and there's this emotional reaction. The kid looks at his mother, he looks at his father, he starts to see himself, God, I really look like dad, or I see a lot of myself and my father and all the rest of it, but they're broke. They are dirt poor. And now, let's say they're put in a position where they have to choose. It becomes a very difficult kind of a situation. But it has to do, again, the mind says, well, okay, sure, I can move to Israel, and that's all very nice, and that's all very, very idealistic, but let's be practical. It's the practical side that tends to outweigh the other. Okay, but then when we finally get down to brass tacks, which is more permanent? Money can come and go. I know that sounds kind of frivolous at this point, but there's nothing more valuable than peace of mind, a peace that surpasses all understanding. There's nothing more valuable than that. And as was mentioned previously, that a visit here, once usually a Jew visits here, they're never the same again. Something happens. Just stand them in front of the kotel. Yeah, you stand in front of the kotel. I mean, so many times I've seen secular people, that have come here to visit. They stand in front of the kotel and they say, "Look, I'm not religious or anything like that, but I get goosebumps." You see, so it's but then the mind reacts to the emotional, and then the way to work on the conflict, the mind says, "Okay, look, I'm supposed to be here, and because I'm supposed to be here, it can work out." And so now the mind joins with the heart in working this conflict out, so that one could be here. Okay, so you're not gonna make your fortune like you would in Hollywood, but then but there's a peace of mind that you can't find anywhere else for a Jew.
Wait a minute,
not to mention physical safety.
I got to pipe in now for a moment here. And you said that you're not going to make your fortune here like Hollywood. Well, I got issues with that, because you're going to make a fortune here beyond any fortune that you can imagine. If you think I'm out of my mind, you take a look at what's going on here in Israel. People are fulfilling the most wildest dreams, and there are becoming more millionaires here, and we're just getting started.
Not us.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Anyway, we are here, and need to do our plug for our Aliyah integration program. You can see over on this side right here, it's the IDF prep program. There you go. And down below is the address. No, that's the Aliyah Fever one. There you go. That's the address. And this is an Aliyah integration program for young men, young Jewish men, 17 to 20, who want to make Aliyah.
Before, the program provides a smooth integration into Israeli society. It's a hard move, and you join your peer group, your age group in Israel, get to know them. You build a social group around you. You learn the language within 1 year. It makes the move and the integration much smoother, and most of our guys make Aliyah. The majority of them go to the army, and they finish, and they're completely Israeli. And that makes for successful Aliyah. As someone once told me, successful Aliyah is dictated by someone who could join the Israeli workforce. So I can say that the guys that, after they've been through here, let's say, 3 years of the army or a year and a half, depending on the program they choose, but they're basically Israeli, and they can join the Israeli workforce, and they also serve their nation in a very positive and amazing way.
All right, so listen, we're going to be taking off here, and anybody has anything that they'd like to discuss with us, you can go to aliyahfever@gmail.com, and we'd love to hear from you, and we're going to be signing out right now. And like I like to say to all my friends out there, I'll see you at the Beit HaMikdash.